Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be talking about Major Hurricane Larry that's mainly going to be a fish storm here that may come pretty close to Bermuda, but it's mostly going to stay a fish storm that could bring some impacts here to Bermuda. Not only Bermuda, but even along the east coast here could see stronger rip currents and also some higher waves as well. We also got disturbance to watch in the Gulf of Mexico. Currently not looking to be a big deal for right now. We also got severe weather talk about across parts of Great Lakes and Midwest that could bring in damaged winds, some small hail, and maybe some isolated tornadoes as well. So we're going to get started with the tropics today. So we got Major Hurricane Larry. It's currently the biggest story. 125-mile-per-hour winds currently with a minimum pressure of 956 millibars. It's right now at its peak here. We do have mesovortices kind of going around the eye, so it's kind of making it not really intensify all that much anymore. So it's kind of reaches max intensity at this point here, but it's continuing to make a turn a little bit more to the north here. But for most part, it's going to stay as a fish storm, though. May bring us some effects across parts of Nova Scotia and some other places further up north, across parts of eastern Canada. But overall, it's going to stay a fish storm. But probably the area that needs to be focused right now would be Bermuda, where this system here may come very close to Bermuda, and that could bring us some potentially some major impacts there as well. But let's actually click on this very quickly here. But you can see here's the cone of uncertainty here. And you do see here it's expected to come by Bermuda as a major hurricane. Probably a low end category 3 hurricane. It's going to slowly die down over the next couple days here. It may arrive Bermuda probably around Thursday. And you can see it'll be kind of slowly dying trend as well. But then again, Bermuda will be an area to watch here as well. It won't be a direct hit, but you may get some impacts from the western side of the system here. Probably the biggest impacts would be a decent amount of rain, gusty winds, could be some tropical storm winds. You may also get some definitely stronger rip currents and also higher waves as well. And this is what Larry looks like. And we got a pretty large eye here. I believe before it was 73 miles wide. So this is a very large eye here. But you can see it's not that organized of an eye here. It's not very circular. It's not a perfect circular eye here, but there is some mesovortices kind of going around the main eye of this here, and that's kind of prevented it from intensifying anymore here. But it's still a pretty impressive system either way here. But the good news is it currently has no threat to land, but may bring some impacts to Bermuda later this week here. So this is what the hurricane model's thoughts are on this system. And then again, no threat to land currently, and there's no threat to the United States as well. But here's the intensity guidance here. And you do see here the majority models bringing it kind of a slowly dying trend here over the next several days here. We'll stay at category 3 probably over the next at least 24 hours, maybe up to 36 hours here. So probably a day and a half, then probably down to a category 2, probably the next 2 days here. And probably say hurricane strength probably a couple days afterwards as well. So it'll be on a slowly dying trend here. But it's still over some pretty favorable warm sea surface temperatures. Here's the GFS of Solomons, keeping it at pretty low pressure here. It will still deepen as it moves up to the north here, probably connect with a trough, but it'd be more of a frontal low than a tropical low at that point. But it will still have hurricane force winds around that system as well. And like I said here, it's going to bring some impact along pretty much most of the entire East Coast. This is the waves here, so this is what the models do indicate of how high these waves could be. And you can see here, around Larry, waves could be as high as 41 feet. So that's some very high waves. And you can see here currently along the East Coast, probably 2 to 3 feet high waves here. But let's kind of move on to 1 o'clock Wednesday. You'll start to notice here there is some higher waves here as it moves a little bit closer to the East Coast here. So really from Maine all the way down to parts of Florida, you can see waves as high as 4 feet. And then as you kind of move to 7 o'clock, then you really start to notice here. This is when it misses Bermuda to the east here. which if we check out the winds here, so this is sustained winds, and Bermuda could experience some sustained winds close to tropical storm, but kind of around the center of the system here could be hurricane force winds as well. But kind of going back to the waves here, so this is 7 o'clock on Thursday, and waves could be as high as 5 feet, kind of going along the east coast here, and there will be some stronger wind rip currents as well. Here's the GFS for a preference. It's kind of the same thing, maybe not as high here, but still some decently high waves out there. It even moved to 7 o'clock Friday. I mean, check out along the east coast here. Waves could be as high, some places could be as high as 7 feet. So those are some pretty high waves there. And here's the GFS model. It's kind of a similar situation here with those waves could be high as 7 to maybe possibly 8 feet. And plus with that stronger storm surge as well. There's definitely there may be that opportunity for some coastal flooding as well with these higher waves as well, especially across parts in the northeast as well. And here's the icon model here, and it does show some waves. Some of the highest waves could be up in Maine, so there may be that opportunity for some coastal flooding as well. But there's definitely going to be some higher waves out there. But as it kind of moves up into closer to Greenland there, the threat's pretty much over here for higher waves. So areas pretty much along pretty much the entire east coast here. Definitely got to watch for those higher waves and also stronger rip currents as well. So if you're going to be on the beach, please be careful along the east coast here as well as Larry moves across parts of the western Atlantic as well. Let's talk a little bit about this disturbance here that's in the Gulf of Mexico here. And you see here, it's given a low chance of development. But in the upper level winds, there's going to be quite a bit of wind shear to work with. So this thing here will definitely have trouble developing. Also, those sea surface temperatures have definitely cooled down after Ida's passed over the eastern Gulf of Mexico, which this is the current sea surface temperatures, and pretty much before here we had sea surface temperatures 30 to 31 degrees. That's kind of cooled down to 29 degrees. That's not a major drop in Celsius, but if you check out compared to average, it's actually slightly below average here across parts of the eastern Gulf of Mexico. So it's still cool down the eastern Gulf of Mexico, but as soon as it passes Florida, it's slightly more favorable there. You do have a little bit of a Gulf Stream that's out there, so we're going to see what's going to happen there. And it does look like it may be a little bit more favorable for tropical development as it gets to parts of the Atlantic. But it's definitely a system here we'll watch for over the next several days here as well. But I won't be too worried about that system as of right now. Really, the main threat would be heavy rainfall, and that'd be more focused across parts of northern Florida and probably into parts of southern Georgia as well. But then again, I'm not really expecting any major impacts out of that system or disturbance. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the tropics. Let's move on to severe weather. So this is for the rest of today to the overnight hours. We got a marginal risk across parts of Wisconsin, upper Michigan, northern Minnesota, and northeastern North Dakota. Very small marginal risk across parts of probably a county or two in northeastern New Mexico. Not expecting a tornado today, but damaging winds and hail will be your main threats. But the day to watch will be tomorrow. We got slight risk for severe weather across most of Michigan that moves down into parts of northern Indiana and northeastern Illinois as well. The tornado threat's low, but won't be surprised to see a 5% to be added across parts of Michigan here. There's going to be a decent amount of wind shear to work with up there, and that can lead to some isolated tornadoes. A little better opportunity to see some isolated tornadoes. Damage winds would be the main threat. Hail will be possible as well. What we're watching here is there's going to be a cold front that'll be moving through these areas in here. There'll be a squall line of storms that develop along that front. We're not really expecting any discrete cells to form out ahead of the front, but we do expect a line of strong to severe storms to form along that front that could produce damaged winds and maybe some isolated tornadoes. Let's check out the 18Z HER, and you do see here as we kind of move on to later tomorrow, so this is kind of the evening hours tomorrow, you do see that line of strong to severe thunderstorms moving across the northeastern Illinois that eventually move into northern Indiana and even across most of Michigan as well, especially a little earlier on the day here. It seems like the most favorable environment here for severe weather across Michigan looks to be a little bit earlier in the day than Illinois. Now, as you move further to the southwest, there won't be as much wind shear to work with as well, so the chances for tornadoes will decrease as you move further to the southeast, but the threat of damaging winds will still be there. But we don't expect severe weather the next day, which eventually that cold front will be across parts of the Ohio Valley, but we do not expect any severe weather across those areas tomorrow, given the fact the instability will be too low for any severe weather. But you guys could possibly see a line of showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder across those regions, but we don't really expect any severe weather across the Ohio Valley on Wednesday. Let's check out the Harris NAM here for the environment since it does the best here. It's better than your HER. You do see here, this is your surface-based cape. You do see here, there's a decent amount of instability out there here. It's definitely enough here to have some severe weather to be involved here. So we'll start off in Michigan here, which looks to be the most favorable environment here for tornado development. It'll take a minute to load here. And this is what we got here, and it shows a pretty favorable environment here. It's a pretty good sounding. I've seen this earlier today. You can see here, there's a pretty good hodograph out there. Uh, Stormington Felicity is favorable for tornadoes. Downdraft Cape is below 800, but still favorable for some damage to winds. Low of elaborates will be favorable for damage to winds. Also, you got the dew point temperature line spread apart at the surface as well. But really, this is favorable for tornadoes and maybe some damage winds. Also, your mid-level winds will be out there as well, so that'll kind of help increase that damage wind threat as well. Plus, there is some wind direction of height here. At the surface, winds are kind of coming from the south, and then you go from the mid-level jet, or the low-level jet, I should say, comes from the southwest. So there is some wind direction of height here, and the winds are decently on the moderate side of things. But this will be favorable here for isolated tornadoes and some damage winds as well. As we move further to the southwest into northern Illinois, now wind shear will decrease here, but the instability will be a little bit higher, and this will be a little favorable environment here for, at least I should say, a little bit better environment for some damage winds. But it's also not a bad environment here for some hail. As you do see here, instability at surface 4700. Not a whole lot of wind shear to work with. Not really that favorable for tornadoes. But downdraft cape as high as 2000. But your lap rates here will be favorable for large, some hail out there. Probably not very large hail, but at least some hail out there. But low lap rates will be favorable for damage winds as well. So this is another decent sounding here. Also, your mid or your low level jet would be favorable for some damage winds as well. So really overall here, areas across parts of southern Michigan. Let me move that out of the way. So southern Michigan probably into parts of central Michigan, northern Indiana into parts of northeastern Illinois probably be the areas to monitor here for any severe weather. We'll check out the NAM here for at least some reflectivity. You do see here, there shows a pretty good cluster of thunderstorms moving through these areas in here. It actually is as far southwest as parts of Missouri as well. So Missouri may have that low end chance for some strong storms down there as well. But probably the better opportunity to see some severe weather will be across parts of Michigan, northern Indiana, northeastern Illinois as well. And these will continue to move to the southeast overnight, but the chances of severe weather will go down because the instability won't really be there, and I can't really sustain strong severe thunderstorms at that point as well. But you can see here, it shows a pretty good squall line moving across those regions as well. And we'll check out the instability very quickly here. You do see here, pretty good amount of instability to work with. We'll check out Central Michigan very quickly here before we end the video. And it also shows a pretty favorable environment here for tornadoes as well. Pretty good hodograph. Wind shear is definitely favorable Low libraries will be favorable for damage winds, same way for the downdraft cape here. So this Saturday will be pretty favorable for isolated tornadoes and damage winds as well. So really the better opportunity for a tornado threat will be Central Michigan, but keep in mind these will be isolated in nature, and these will be along the squall line. And typically with tornadoes along the squall line, they're usually weak and short-lived, but we still cannot rule out for that chance for some isolated tornadoes out there. So anybody that lives up across parts of Central Michigan, Southern Michigan, Northern Indiana, into parts of Northeastern Illinois, please be weather aware tomorrow. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you do like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.